Hello there! Welcome to the October YouTube clip from Pilates Leeds. My name's Alison, and this month I want to give you a few tips on how to bring more awareness and focus to your breathing. Now there's really so much to be gained by just spending a moment or two in or with your breath as a solitary practice or as part of something else like singing or exercise, particularly weight training type exercise or non-cardio. It's possible to improve the quality of your breath, to optimise it, and in so doing the muscles of the breathing function better, and the muscles that we often co-opt in less efficient breathing, for example the upper chest muscles and the neck muscles, can ease off and work less. It's also possible to promote calm and with good breathing, and most meditative practice begins with awareness of the breath. I'm not going to talk about meditation today because it's not an area of expertise for me. I'm just going to stick to the idea of breathing on its own. So you don't really need anything to help you, but just in case you have useful props well, there's the chair and the floor, but we kind of got them, but also a book or a yoga brick, a Dynaband or a yoga strap, or a dressing gown belt would do actually, and if you've got it, a squishy ball, but it needs to be quite deflated, like it's giving up the will to live, but that's how we need it, really super squishy. I don't need them just yet, and we're going to start sitting. So it's not directly breathing, but it is indirect. I want to talk about the ideal posture that benefits both your body and your breathing. Some of you know me well enough to know I'm always rabbiting on about the sit bones, and if you're not sure where they are, I hope my head's not going to get chucked off here. If you can, and you may need support of the wall or the chair, put one leg up on your chair and have a feel. You can actually feel the sit bone through the muscles and the flesh of your buttocks. Those are your sit bones, and ideally you would sit on them and sit tall. You need to sit as if you're basically a character in Downton Abbey. If you struggle with that, it may be that your chair's a bit low, if you've got a little bit of tightness in the back of your body. So this is where your yoga brick or just a book or a pile of towels or something comes into play. If you make the chair higher, then it's easier because to kind of sit tall without the tendency to round back like that. Some of you actually might find that your feet are not firmly planted on the floor, in which case you need your towels or your block for your feet. So you're just gently standing, sit standing into your feet, and you'll sit standing into your sit bones, and your spine is long and relaxed. Okay, and that's it. So the reason for sitting tall is it's simply easier for the rib cage to expand as you breathe in. There's less restriction by the physical properties of the sort of slight slump or the curve or the round back. So do your best to sit tall, and then simply breathe into your pelvis or breathe downwards. They're slightly metaphorical cues to get the diaphragm, the main muscle of the breath, to work. It contracts down when you breathe in. It might be easier, and I'll have to sit back for this, and move that block away, to think, okay, breathe into the back of the chair, because you've got something you've got something solid to kind of press against. So a more literal cue is breathe wide and full into the ribs. Now this is where you can either use your hands or your Dynaband. You know what, I'm going to take my top off here. It's colourful and nice, but it's not very helpful, is it? Okay, so you put the Dynaband or your dressing gown belt around your ribs. If you haven't got those things, you can use your fingers as well, like this. Fingers around the thumb, and put the front, thumb around the back. And the thumb is important, okay? And breathe into your ribs. So the Dynaband on your hands, again, it gives you something physical to breathe into, like the back of the chair. And you're getting this sense absolute sense of the widening of the ribs as you breathe. And often when we become aware of the breathing, automatically it becomes deeper. And a deeper breath is kind of a longer breath. They're two sides of the same two sides of the same coin. To just have an awareness that you are having the in-breath and the out-breath fairly equal. You can maybe just do that with awareness alone or count. You can choose your own number, but I generally tend to go randomly for in for 5 and out for 5. Just be aware that you're basically breathing in and out through your nose. That's where we're supposed to breathe from. Your tongue is relaxed. Touch the back of your 2 front teeth. Jaw relaxed, lips parted. It can be helpful, this is more of a postural thing to sort of bring in, to be aware that the head is on top of the body. Again, it's a postural cue, but it dovetails with the breathing. Or maybe hand behind the head and push back to encourage the head to be on top of the body. And I'm a massive fan of doing this kind of breathing practice if you're in your car or sat in the back of a taxi or a bus. You've got you're your own captive audience. And then one last thing, this whole notion of breathing wide and full into the ribs, we're getting away from a tendency to breathe into the upper chest, which is shallower, less efficient breathing, and tends to use these neck chest muscles when we're supposed to be breathing with the diaphragm, which is the thing that expands the ribs. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of breathing ideas on the floor now. If you have a moment to lie down and breathe, it can be a lovely position to work in because you're taking away gravity, you can relax. And of course, you could do it while you're lying in bed. If you've got a cough, sometimes lying down makes you cough more, so it may not work in that context. And if you're heavily pregnant, then you would be, maybe it's better to prop yourself up against a wall rather than lying down. Prolonged lying, as some of you will be aware, is contraindicated in pregnancy. That is lying on your back. For extra relaxation, particularly if you have tight hips, tight back, could be to pop your legs up like this on a chair, or have a yoga bolster or pillows underneath your knees. Some people find this super relaxing. I'm kind of happy like this. And then beyond that, it's simply the same as before. You're aiming for slow and steady. You're breathing wide and full into the ribs. Again, you can have your hands there to feel that sense of width at the side. Or you can maybe breathe into the floor a little bit. And as you do, allow the rest of the body to relax. Your out breath is your softening breath. So could you allow your body to soften, so we haven't got to work against gravity, so go with gravity, so spread and gently soften with each out breath. So finally, a quick note on lying on your side and lying your tummy. And I'll come back to the counting and breathing at the end. So, lying on your side is where, if you've got it, you're going to use the squishy ball. You're going to pop it underneath the rib cage and then prop your head up on a cushion like this. And then here you can, so you don't need the ball, but if you've got one, you can sense that you're breathing into a lovely pillow of air. So you can have got the opportunity to consider an asymmetric breath. So I'm lying on my right, so I feel a really different sensation as I breathe into the right underneath rib, but I'm pushing into a pillow of air, and on my left side, I'm reaching into the actual air. So it's very sided as well as being asymmetric. It's also, if you're not comfortable lying on your back, it's a great position to work in. Obviously do both sides if you can. And then again, if you have the opportunity, you can also lie on your tummy. So again, you can, some people find lying on their tummy too compressive, and also lying on the ball too compressive. If that's you, and this is commonplace, don't worry too much. Just don't mind, maybe simply move on. If you are lying on your tummy, then again, you're going to breathe in on the breastbone into a cushion of air. But at the same time, you've liberated the back of the ribs, which after all, anatomically, is where the lungs are. They're not at the front, they're at the back. So you're allowing the back of the rib to expand into the air, and with a sense of the inflating of the lungs at the back. Like before, you're not battling gravity. Allow your body to soften. And I can't resist a quick postural cue. Just be aware that your shoulder blades are gliding, sliding away from your ears, not shrugged into the ears. And then finally, so that I don't have my head down as much as anything, I'm going to come back onto my back. I'm just going to finish with a reminder about the counting. Some people are really happy just simply to be in their breathing, or an awareness of the air coming into the nose and out of the nose. But if you find that your mind darts all over the place, or you want to have a little extra sort of element of control really, then count. At its most basic, in for 5 and out for 5. Of course, the number is really dictated by the speed with which you count. But slow and steady. A little bit more, and this will be the last thing I kind of say, this is a little bit more advanced. But you could try breathing in for 5, holding your breath for 5, and breathing out for 8. So the holding of the breath and the promoting a longer out breath really kind of sort of upgrade the opportunity to use the breath to promote calm, to it stimulates the vagus nerve, which can positively affect blood pressure, reducing it, and heart rate if they're kind of sort of upped due to a bit of tension or anxiety in your system. But I can't stress enough that that is a little bit more tricky, and I don't want to lay something on you that's going to make you feel worse. So you might feel happier in for 5, out for 5, or you might just be keen to experiment with in for 5, hold for 5, out for 5. And yes, it works in the car, works in the taxi, works on the bus. And it works when you're out for a walk too. So I'm going to sign off, but maybe you will just remain where you are and give this a little go for another few moments. Hi there. I do hope you found this clip useful. We've got plenty more on the site, and for now I've suggested another one for you to watch. If you want to know more about what we do in Leeds, then do visit the website at pilates-leeds.com, and right now you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. We can do this all again next month. Cheerio!